Welcome to The Hindu. I'm Aroon. Today we are looking at one of India's most harrowing episodes of terrorism, the hijacking of Indian Airlines flight IC-814. In December 1999, this flight took off from Kathmandu to Delhi and was taken over by 5 armed militants, leading to a week-long hostage crisis. The hijackers were members of a terrorist organization from Pakistan, and after negotiations, they were able to get the Indian government to release 3 high-profile terrorists. Netflix's new series IC-814, The Kandahar Hijack, revisits this traumatic event, dramatizing it for a global audience. This show faced significant pushback from right-wing commentators online, and the government ended up summoning Monika Shergill, who oversees Netflix's India content. The incident began the moment hijackers took control of the aircraft over Indian airspace. After multiple stops in Amritsar, Lahore, and Dubai, the flight was forced to land in Kandahar, in Afghanistan, then under Taliban control. The hijackers were members of the Islamist militant group Harkat-ul-Mujahideen. Their connections to Pakistan's intelligence agency, the ISI, and the Taliban in Afghanistan played a critical role in the incident. Commentators online were particularly upset because the real names of these hijackers was not flashed on screen, and the ISI's role was apparently not fully highlighted. This hijacking took place during a sensitive period in India. The Kargil war with Pakistan had just happened from May to July. Diplomatic relations between India and Pakistan were at a low point, and Pakistan's covert support for militant groups in Kashmir had fueled further instability. These hijackers were demanding the release of 3 high-profile militants, including Maulana Masood Azhar, while holding hundreds of passengers hostage, and that put the Indian government in a difficult position. After intense negotiations mediated by the Taliban, India released these 3 militants in exchange for the hostages. While this brought the immediate crisis to an end, the long-term consequences reshaped India's security and foreign policies for years to come. After this hijacking, India put in place a more hawkish approach to national security, something that the 9/11 attacks reinforced. India also started talking more about Pakistan's support for terrorism at the United Nations and in other international forums. On the plane, the hijackers called each other by code names such as Burger, Bhola, and Shankar, and that is what you'll see in the show as well. But this upset some viewers regardless. Netflix and a lot of streaming services of late have reduced the amount of content based on political and religious themes in India, as well as historical themes. And this kind of response for such content is a key reason for that. The show is still somewhat fictionalized. For example, the names of all the key officials and ministers are changed, and the Prime Minister of that time, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, only appears once in archival footage on a TV. India has not had another hijacking since IC-814. Airport security was made far more stringent. India today is one of the small number of countries that has security screening people at the terminal entry, not just after check-in. In fact, the Indian government also made sure that flights from Nepal became a bit safer. After some diplomatic back and forths, all flights to India from Nepal have an elevated platform before boarding, where passengers and baggage are screened by Indian security agents. After the 9/11 attacks, India has also implemented other safety protocols, like reinforcing the doors to plane cockpits, regulating visitors to airports, and having sky marshals to ensure security in the air. The IC-814 hijack was a massive intelligence failure, and there were significant gaps in communication that made this crisis take much longer to solve than it would have been. One passenger, 25-year-old Rupin Katyal, was stabbed to death by the terrorists. Streaming services like Netflix are under a magnifying glass in India, which explains the usual caution around political and historical content. But the release of shows like this allows us to go back and examine how these traumatic incidents shaped India and how it looks at terrorism. India hasn't had a plane hijacking since 1999, and deaths due to terrorism have reduced. All this has come at a price though, and shows like IC-814 remind us about the prices we've had to pay for national security. Thank you for watching, and to see more videos like this, follow The Hindu.